I'm Bree, and welcome back to my garden. Today I'm going to talk about what I'm doing here in Zone 8A in the Piedmont of North Carolina in February in the garden. There's actually a lot that can be done. The first thing I want to show you that I'm really excited about, it's like my white whale this year. I haven't been successful with it before. I've only tried once before, but I've been dreaming about it for a very long time. You probably can relate, and it is this. Dun da da da! Drum roll, please. Look at that. Oh my god. It is the most beautiful vegetable, I would venture to say. Romanesco cauliflower, broccoli, it's in that family. It's an heirloom variety. It takes forever to grow, as I've learned the hard way. Here we go. So we have a few finally coming in. These were put in the ground, transplanted from seeds that I started inside in September. Oh, here's a good one. Oh my goodness. Look at how beautiful. So you can see why I'm excited. So I'm really hoping that these are going to continue to grow and mature. I want just like at least one full head of it, because when they're full grown, oh my god, it's just beautiful. So I've given them a little fertilizer a couple weeks ago because I think they needed an extra boost. It's been a long time growing. Been keeping them watered and just, giving them maybe another week or two. I'll have one that I can eat, and very exciting, and I will show you if that is the case. I'll also report back if it is not this time around. It is a beautiful day here and a beautiful morning, and it is also going to rain. We haven't had rain in probably almost 2 weeks, maybe more. That's not uncommon for this time of year, but it's been dry nonetheless. It actually rained a little bit already last night, which is going to be very helpful for what we have going on today. But this is like, today won't be rainy, tomorrow and the next couple days will be. So it just lines up really great already with the timing that I have for wanting to get some things in the ground, get some seeds started, and then they're going to get watered without me having to do anything. Sorry if you're hearing my cat playing. So the rain is going to be very helpful for getting things in the ground and getting some seeds going. If you can time it that way, anytime you need to do some planting, it works out even better. So I'm really grateful for this timing, and I'm really excited to get out there for my first planting day of 2024 and have the best Saturday. It's, like I said, it's gorgeous. It's actually going to be one of those warm February days we get. The high is about 75, partly cloudy, and we're going to get to spend the whole day in the dirt. So we are going to sow. Direct sowing today: carrots, radish, lettuce, and cilantro. These are all great late winter, early spring crops to be putting in the ground directly from seed. And then I'm going to be transplanting my onions and broccoli and more Romanesco because I just cannot help myself. This is a slightly longer video because, well, I can talk about gardening forever, but there also is a lot going on right now. It's very exciting. I think there will be a lot of information in this video that's broadly applicable, especially when the time is right for you. So I hope you find some good tips and maybe tricks, and most of all, inspiration for right now in your garden or spring garden soon. First, before we get planting, I'm going to show you a little more of what's growing in the garden right now, from things that may have been planted in the fall or even some perennial crops that I have. And then we'll get going. I am going to just finish my coffee for a little bit, and then I am ready to get out there. So I will see you soon in the garden. Here is my super happy garlic. I am so pleased with how well this is doing. It's only my second time ever growing garlic since it needs a good amount of space and a longer time as well to mature. This is a plant that overwinters. It needs some time in the cold to really thrive. And this is a soft neck variety that is best for my region. These were planted in, honestly, I can't remember. The fall was rough. So it was either September or October. They'll be ready in June. Very exciting. I've just mulched them a little bit, fertilized them once with some blood meal, and I'll fertilize them again probably in a month. Then the asparagus is coming up, and some new growth on my strawberry plants. Both the strawberries and the asparagus were started just last year from bare root plants. So this is their second year for both. This is the large strawberry patch. Soon and exciting to get its own strawberry cage on top and look much better. Then in the herb garden, there are already some herbs coming in, like this beautiful motherwort. Loaded up and ready to go. Before we get things in the ground, I'm going to show you a little bit about where they're going and why, and then some things I'm doing to try to keep them as healthy as possible for this spring growing season. Now, getting my spring garden planned and positioned for what I'm going to grow, how much I'm going to grow, where it's going to go in the garden, that all started for me really probably in October or November, because I was just so excited to think about this year. This is my second growing season with this finally, basically permanent garden space that I've dreamt about. So I was just ready to get things thinking about how I can grow as much as possible year round. But late fall, winter, that's a great time to be planning things like this. And depending on how much space you have, I think space is always a limiting factor. You're going to want to be careful about the timing of things if you're trying to grow in more than just summer. Again, I have a 50 by 50 garden space with 16 beds that are on average 4 feet wide to 16 foot long. That's a lot of growing space, a lot of garden beds. And so I was not prepared to buy mulch to cover those up, to buy straw. There are things you can do to keep them protected and covered when things are not growing in them. But my partner and I came up with what we thought was a great idea, and we will, figure that out in a few months. Time will tell us if it worked, to use grass clippings. So we had this giant lawn, the grass was dying off, and in November into December, I put the bag on our push lawnmower, electric push lawnmower. Don't recommend for a space this big. But I put the collection bag on the back of it, and we harvested this dried grass, and I was able to cover I don't know, like 10 beds that I needed to be covered with grass clippings. And it's breaking down. It's super moist. And so the idea with that is you really don't want to leave garden spaces just open soil, open and bare. Because even though we might say the beds are going to bed for the winter, they're not. During this time, so much is happening in the soil, and we want to keep our soil thriving and full of microbes and get worms in there and all sorts of things being broken down to increase the nutrient content. I also love the idea that I put grass to like a good use. I'm gonna hate on grass on this channel. It's just gonna happen. I have qualms. But it was kind of regenerative in a way that I used things from my own land and property to then add to the garden. So I appreciated the grass for that resource that it provided. So like I said, we're gonna be growing a bunch of broccoli. I got my onions back there. They're gonna be going in some other beds that I need to clean up a little bit more before those are ready. And then I'm gonna try this spring iteration of more Romanesco, just give it another chance. I mean, it's 75 degrees out today. I don't think it's gonna be cold enough for long enough for these guys to produce anything for the spring. I think come April, it's gonna be 80 degrees and they're gonna bolt. Okay, if you have successfully grown Romanesco, I wanna hear about it. When did you plant it? What zone are you in? How long did it take? I don't know. I want to know some secrets and tips and tricks for getting Romanesco, and I'm not going to quit. That's the thing. Don't ever give up. How's my garden puppy today? Love and life. Now, if you want to go ahead and buy transplants already started from the store, wherever you can find them, I would encourage you to do that if you really feel like, you still want to start a spring garden. Maybe it's inspired you to grow your own broccoli or something like that. I will say, over time, you'll figure out if that cost is worth it for you with these types of plants. Transplants in general have just gotten so much more expensive. And with something like broccoli, one plant is going to equal one large crown of broccoli. Now, most broccoli plants, you also get side shoots as the plant matures. So you might get 2 total heads of broccoli per plant. Right now, from my understanding, it would be cheaper to just buy broccoli crowns in the store than growing them from transplants. Cauliflower is about the same price. Onions, I'm not honestly sure if they even sell those. Those might be a little bit harder to get in a start. Anyway, I would just say grow something, right? And it's not necessarily just about the cost. It might be about the experience and then knowing where it comes from. So if you want to try it this spring, you definitely still have time. Depending on your region, you might still have time to go ahead and get things started from seed as well. One other thing I wanted to mention about getting these beds prepped for this planting after my summer into fall gardening was, like I said, I weeded a bunch. I loosened up the soil a little bit. Then I added worm castings to try to replenish some nutrients that were taken up during the high growing season before covering them with the other nutrient rich grass clippings. So they were ready to go. So for my onions here, it was a little more complicated. I had to do some cleaning out and getting this area ready since it wasn't 100% ready to be planted in. And so these are going to go companion with these big beds I have right now that have, we'll call it cover crops, some other plants that came in that are fine over the winter. These are going to be where my tomatoes are. Now, I've never grown onions before, so I really don't want to devote and invest a lot of space into them right now. I'm learning. So whenever I plant something new that I haven't planted before, I'm going to scale it down to see how it does. Maybe there's a better spot for it next time. Beauty of gardening, you pretty much always get next year. So that's why I'm also doing a relatively smaller batch of onions. Some people will plant hundreds of onions at a time, which is great, especially if you're getting ones that store well. I think I have like 80 here, and they might not all come to maturity. If they do, that's going to be great. But again, I'm just experimenting, and I'm just going to put them in a little border near the south-facing side of my garden, so they're not shaded out. And onions take a really long time. So that's another thing. Not only do I not want to devote the space to a large onion patch right now, but I would have to devote that space over a span of 6 to 8 months for my onions. So we're going to see how it goes this time, and I'm going to keep you posted. It is downright hot. Oh my goodness. Anyway, we have gotten so much done. Really, really pleased with the progress. I'm ready to take a break soon, get some lunch, but I wanted to finish up what I'm doing in my large back vegetable garden patch, and that is to get some carrots sown. Carrot seeds are very small and delicate seeds. The most common way people plant them is scattering them very densely on top of the soil, which is what I will be doing here. And then as they germinate and pop up and mature a little bit, you just thin them out so they're spaced properly, one carrot every, few inches, so they can mature properly and not conflict or crowd each other out. I have not had the best luck with germination. So I'm going to be trying a method that I just learned about through Roots and Refuge Farm, where you use a plank of wood or just something to gently cover up where you put your seeds to protect them from birds, wind, getting washed away, but they're not going to be smothered or suffocated by any dirt or anything on top of it. So I'm doing half and half. I'm going to experiment to see what works better for me. Really, I just wanted to sit down for a moment. I've decided I'm going to put my hammock out later and have some hammock time as a reward for all this hard work. It's been so good. But I am here to take a moment. I want to tell you about a reference that I have been using for years now, and especially when I am growing new things or just need a refresher on something. But like the carrots and the onions, I've definitely referred to this multiple times to make sure, like, what's the timing? What do I do? Do I have the space? What do they need? How are the best practices? And it's this beautiful book. It is called Carolina's Fruit and Vegetable Gardening. Yeah, we got this as a Christmas gift years ago from my partner's mother. And it's been so good. You can see it's well loved in the Carolinas, but especially North Carolina. Our state is divided into 3 regions called the mountains, the Piedmont, and then the coastal plain. Yes, we have the best of everything here. But anyway, so this book is great because it tells you when to plant things and then how and when to harvest for each region. So I'm in the Piedmont. Highly recommend this book, or if you can find one for your state or your region, I would hope there are other reference guides like this, but I just love how user-friendly it is and how much information it has very succinctly. So here I am at my kiddie pool, and I bought this for Sadie Dog years and years ago because in theory she likes water as a lab, and she did not like this at all. And then it was just kind of sitting around, and we were renting, and I was just trying to plant as many things as I could in as many places as I could without being able to plant in the ground. And I realized, why am I not just filling everything possible with dirt and putting plants in it? And that's when I remembered I had this, and I put some raised bed soil, a mix of some black cow manure to make it nutrient rich, and I've been growing in it for years and years now, and it's been great. It's a great little flex space here. In this property, there is this concrete slab that was put from the previous owners when they had a pool in this area, and there's no taking that out. So I also wanted something that would go on top of that to detract from that kind of eyesore, and this fit here really well. I think if I had some forethought, I may have spray painted the pool to be a color I liked a little more, but it's fine. I have a lot of blues in my landscape. Anyway, I would recommend this if you need something cheap to plant in. No harm, no shame. These are like $10 still. You can even get larger ones. That's way cheaper than any other container or raised bed you might find elsewhere. It's lasted me, like I said, a long time. I think like 6 years by now at least, and it's still holding up great. I did put drainage holes around the sides and the bottom of it though. So just make sure you have drainage, because especially being plastic, it's going to really hold water. That's what it's supposed to do. It's a pool. Just put that together. Anyway, it's become a great space to grow all year round in. So right now there's some things that have taken over in this mild winter we're having. I had cilantro in here during the summer, and so that just self-seeded like crazy when it turned to coriander. And then there's some other, quote unquote weeds that I will just take out, clean it up. I might amend it with a little more compost at this point, maybe fill it up a little higher with some raised bed soil that I have. I don't think that would be necessary, but I could just refresh it. I did a really good refresh of this soil and added some mushroom compost in the fall before I did my fall radish crop. And I got some of the like thickest, biggest, reddest, most beautiful radishes, very tasty, that I've ever had after that. That was pretty exciting. So in the spring and the fall, this is my radish bed. It is perfect for that. They don't go very deep. It's convenient. It's right off the back porch. It's, they're smaller crops, so I don't want to necessarily put them in a giant bed in my back vegetable patch if I don't need to. And so I'm going to do radish and lettuce in here for the spring. And I don't know what I'm going to do when summer comes, but I have options. It's just a great additional growing space. Maybe some small pepper plants. And with the radish and lettuce, I'm going to do what's called successional sowing. So we do that for, as we can, as time allows, for crops that, whatever you get, that's the harvest, and it's, can be all at once. So radishes are all going to come in at the same time. One radish seed equals one radish. And I can only do so much with like, a ton of radishes at once. I don't want a ton of radishes at once. So I will kind of split it down the middle and do my first successional phase of radish and lettuce here, and then maybe 2 weeks, a little bit longer apart, I will do another set of that as another successional stage of sowing. You can do that with things like broccoli if your time allows for it and the timing of getting your transplants ready allows for it. But throughout the summer growing season, zucchini is a great thing to do successional sowing, even though that does continue to fruit. But there are lots of things that we can think about doing kind of in waves, and that way something's always growing too, but also not maturing all at the same time, so you don't have a giant harvest of just one thing. There are worse problems to have, but it just helps, once you get in the rhythm and the groove, you can do those more fine-tuning of planning things. So I'm going to start my radish and lettuce now. It might seem early to a lot of you, but like I said, we've had a very mild winter. Our summer takes off very quickly. So we kind of, for those cooler weather crops, we might have a long growing season in total. We have a short time frame where we can get those going and successful and harvested without them failing, getting too hot, burning, or bolting. Lettuce for sure. I still haven't gotten that down to science. If you have lettuce tips for growing in zone 8 and those warmer climates, let me know. But yeah, so I'm excited to get this started and turned over and cleaned up and have radishes in a month, probably. The absolutely, hands down, no doubt, 1000% worst part of gardening in the South. Frickin' fire ants. Tell me I'm wrong. Let's plant some radish and lettuce. Here we go. So first you'll see I went in and I made a line down the middle so I can have my first successional side, and then in that 2 or 3 weeks a second successional set again, so everything's not ready at the same time and they're staggered. And then I went in and I made the holes right now in advance. I'm going to do the closer together holes. Radish do not need a lot of space at all, but they say an inch. This is probably a little more. So I'm doing that around the border. And then inside with a little more room in between, little shallower holes, is going to be my lettuce. Again, radish take just a month to mature. So one of the first things we're going to be harvesting soon. And I've had successful germination rates with all of these. So I'm just putting 1 seed per hole. I'm not going to worry about, getting my odds right or anything. It's going to be fine. Sometimes you want to put more than 1 seed at a time, just in case they don't all germinate. This is another pack of seeds I've had for a very long time. So many lettuce seeds, and just don't grow a lot of lettuce. Like I said, it's hard in this region to do that. And I forget that I have lettuce seeds, and then I buy more. And then when I order my seeds from Botanical Interest, they send me more packs of free lettuce seeds. So now these ones I am putting a couple, well, maybe 3 or 4 seeds per hole, because they're so small and there's a variety. And again, I don't know about the germ on these ones, germination. So I'm going to do a little bit per hole. I think those are all my holes. And then I will just thin them out as they mature and as it looks like the type of lettuce I want. This is a mesclun mix, so I might thin it out so I have some red leaf lettuce and some multiple varieties of lettuce. I think I got all my lettuce holes. Not too bad, we'll see, but still a ton of seeds left. And then we just close up our radish seeds. I went ahead and pre-moistened, kind of watered just the top layer of the soil. There's some moisture, but these are gonna get well watered and rained on in a few hours and over the next few days, like I've been saying. So I am not worried about watering them too much more right now. Radish you'll learn. They're hardy, they're easy to grow. I wish there were more ways to eat them that I liked, but they're still good. So for these, I am not going to be very particular. I'm just going to scatter a bunch, cover it up, and thin it out as needed. Cilantro is actually fine when you put them all close together. It's going to be great. So super fun. Just grab a handful. put them in your pot. I might want to get a few in the center more on purpose here. Let me see. Okay. And I'll cover them up and then I give them just a little bit of water. But again, they're going to get rained on. They're good to go. I didn't mention this in the start, but I found these and I forgot I wanted to maybe plant some of this bok choy. And this is another great cool season, early springtime vegetable to sow. Grows fast, delicious, likes the cooler climate. So I think in these pots, I have one here and one on the other side again for balance. I think up here I'm gonna do those. The rains came, and it was my partner and editor, Nathan's birthday this weekend. So it was the perfect excuse, of course, to bake something. And I tried a new recipe from my girl, Sally, at Sally's Baking Addiction. There's nobody better. I will link this recipe as well. These super fudgy, chocolatey brownies. I made sure to add a lot of dark chocolate because we are chocolate fiends here. These were the most delicious brownies we have ever tasted, hands down. So good. Happy birthday to Nathan and all you February babies out there. There's a lot of you. Whenever you're ready, blow out your candle. Thank you again so much for joining and sticking it out till the end here. I hope you've enjoyed it. And if so, please hit that like button, subscribe, and share if you can. It is much appreciated. Sadie and I thoroughly appreciated sharing pretty much our perfect weekend with you. We got to spend a whole day outside on a beautiful day in the garden, moving our bodies, getting things in the ground, getting dirty in the sunshine, and it was just so nurturing. And then we got an equally nurturing day today at home, being cozy, getting rest, baking. Best of both worlds, in my opinion. Thank you for spending it with us, right, Sadie? As always, I would love to hear from you. So please drop a note in the comments just to say hi, or let me know what's going on in the garden for you in February, where you are. I would love to hear from you. In the meantime, take good care. There are more videos to come, so stay tuned, and I will see you soon. We will see you soon. Yes.